and a really good bullpen behind it. And then offensively, man, they're having a really nice offensive year. So you're going to have to, have to play really good baseball at their field. And just like always, Vanderbilt's always good. We're going to have to go up there and compete. But it's a very talented team, and trying to get over those. It's kind of like Ole Miss a little bit, Hoglund and Nikhazy. You're going in there and you're having to get one of those guys there, and hopefully get a good point in the game where you can put some together.
It's kind of following up on that too. There's been so much media coverage about Rocker and Leiter. Sometimes you have to kind of fight against the hype and just kind of focus on the film. I mean, is it easier to get your guys prepared after seeing what happened at Ole Miss, knowing that these guys are comparable and maybe a little bit better?
Yeah, I mean, our guys are, our guys don't look at the media probably a piece of it too much. They're and we've talked about a little bit. We beat opening day Madden, and then we've just had to face so many good arms. Jaden Hill from LSU is supposed to be a first rounder, and now Hoglund, Nikhazy, and now it's just part about being in the SEC. These two are obviously very good and have been pitching really well. So it's having a plan, trying to have a real plan of what we're trying to do and trying to get some good swings off. And then you got to, when the time is right in the game, you got to get the big hit, just like we did on Sunday. I just think our guys got to be ready to go. You got to be ready to hit the fastball.
Next, we'll go to Joel Coleman. Next, we'll go to Joel Coleman.
Chris, I think back to, I guess, your time at Mississippi State. And, I mean, it seems like when it comes to the bunting game, small ball, there are coaches that do it more, I guess I would say, than probably you do. When you go into this weekend against a Rocker and against a Leiter, does your strategy at all change? I mean, is there a chance where you may see a little more station to station, a little more put it together, piece it together kind of thing?
Well, I think the biggest piece, and we talked about yesterday at practice, it may come down to stealing a base. I don't actually mean base stealing. I mean, it may be a ball in the dirt. It may be a hard 2 out of the box. There's not a lot of hits going around. So being able to get that extra base so you don't have to getting 3 hits in an inning against Vanderbilt's tough. That's usually what you need to score a run, or you need an extra base hit. And so for our guys, we steal a base, ball in the dirt, a bunt. No, I'm not against a bunt or a hit and run. There's a lot of swing and miss in there. So that's why the hit and run gets tough with them. But we could bunt. I mean, I foresee us having some close games there this weekend. So us fighting for that extra base may be what we have to do a little bit more.
Next, we'll go to John Sokolov.
Hey, Chris, obviously going into that tandem that you hold in such high regard, how do you think your guys have progressed at the plate heading into kind of such a big series? Because we've seen more runs off the board, obviously, last weekend, but how impressed were you from the dugout at what they've been doing on there heading into this?
Well, you feel like guys are in a good place, most of them. I mean, most of our guys feel pretty good at where they're at. I can't say that 2 or 3 weeks ago. Going into Kentucky, I didn't have that same feel, but I feel like our guys are in a pretty good spot right now, and they're feeling good about their games, and they're excited about how our team is playing. So, like I said, even if we're feeling good, it's still going to be a very tough matchup. But I like where our group is and how they're feeling about their game right now.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to Robbie Falk.
Chris, you've talked so much about the challenges of this pitching staff and just finding innings for guys and things like that. It seems like you're starting to find your roles for these players, especially on the weekend. Do you feel like that's starting to transpire a little bit? The guys like Preston Johnson getting in there and being kind of a stopper type, and Houston Harding on Sundays. Do you feel like those roles are starting to kind of come into focus a little bit?
I do. I feel like we've kind of narrowed it down a little bit. It's still tough. I mean, because we have so many good guys, but even on the midweeks, I'm having to try to throw those guys a little bit more to keep them sharp. And you're probably seeing that in the box scores of trying to, keep those relievers and getting them enough innings and using those guys on the weekends. I mean, we're in a stage of the season where, you gotta get every win that you can on the weekends, and the weekends are so vital. And so having your best bullets available are crucial.
Next, we'll go to Thea DeRosa.
Chris, a lot has been made about Vanderbilt's pitching rotation, but their offense has the best average in the SEC, the best slugging percentage in the SEC, especially against a guy like Will Bednar, who struggled last week against Ole Miss. How do you think he matches up with that offense, and what do you think it would mean to him to have a good start this weekend?
Well, that's probably the only bad start he's had in his career. So I'm going to hope it's just a hiccup, and he's had a good week of work, good bullpen, tremendous competitor. And so I think he's going to run out there and have a good game. They are very talented offensively, and they can do some different things. They hit some home runs. They have a really good stolen base threat. They like to put pressure with the bunting game, so they can do a lot of different things, and they're very well coached. So it's we're going to have to pitch good, but I think we match up pretty good there with Will. I think his velo is a big piece of that.
Next, we'll go to Tyler Horka.
Kind of going off of that too, how do you feel about Christian going into Friday night and then Jackson on Sunday? This seems like a kind of like a best on best series all the way around, where obviously Vanderbilt's good at the plate and on the mound, but like you just talked about with John, your hitting's coming around, and obviously the pitching's been a solid point for you guys all along. So how do you feel about both matchups is really my question.
I think we're, like I said, I think we match up good. I think where we have a little bit of advantage is when we can go to somebody in the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th that, a Landon Sims or some of them other guys. I think we have a little advantage there. But it's, I think they're 2 and we're 3. So for the most part, it's 2 pretty well blended teams, 2 teams who, somebody's have to outplay the other guy. I think we've seen it every weekend. I mean, we feel like we outplayed Ole Miss when we had to, and I thought Arkansas outplayed us in some crucial moments of that game. So when you're playing these top 5 series, you got to play good. You got to play good baseball, and that's been the preach to our team all week. And we learned that in our first SEC weekend of being able to come out and outplay somebody and just not get caught up in the hype.
Next, we'll go to Steve Robertson.
Coach TA and Rowdy and Hatcher have all played and won a series at Vanderbilt. Obviously you weren't here then, but how much can you kind of rely on them to kind of help get the team ready for what they'll face in Nashville?
Kind of the same as every weekend. They're kind of the old dogs. They've been around the league. They've played at these places. We talked about it a little bit, their last trip. We talked about it at practice a little bit yesterday, but I don't think you're walking into a hostile environment. You're not walking into, thousands and thousands of people. You're walking in and just having to beat a really good team. So getting used to the ballpark, we'll get up there and do that a little bit tonight. But, just being a road warrior, going on the road and playing good baseball at somebody else's field, I think is the biggest piece, because they had a huge series there. I'm sure they have great memories there, to go to Omaha. And so, but I don't think it's going to be that type of atmosphere. So I could be wrong. They opened it up a little bit. So
we'll go back to Joel Coleman.
Chris, kind of a 2-part question. The first part's more of like a process question, I guess, but I think it's May the 10th or that week or whatever, they're announcing host sites and all that stuff. Are they announcing that day? Do you know, are they announcing national seeds that day? Or do you know exactly is it just 16 host sites? Do you know the process there? Like what's coming out?
I do not know the process. So
okay.
I leave that to our people. And like I said, they sent me a bunch of paperwork on it, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't read it. So I just, I probably purposely didn't read it because I don't understand it all, but it's just, like I said, and I've been very clear with our guys on our message is just win, take care of it. We know with our facility, with our fan base, with our administration, we're going to win all the extra stuff. It's just our job to have enough wins on there to be a regional host or a national seed. So I actually don't. You probably need to ask somebody in our administration that one.
Well, you kind of answered my second part there anyway. I was going to ask you just how much is that even discussed inside the locker room going into these series, knowing that those announcements are coming, just the chance to cement a resume here?
No, we always talk about building our resume. It's, I haven't put that time frame on them because they moved it up. Our kids probably don't even know that's happening. Tanner, I got to get him to the park the next day. He's not thinking about May the 10th, So these guys they're ready to play, and they feel like they're going to host. They've played well all year. And so they're just going out to compete. It's just when you're in our seat, it's just hard to think about. There's enough pressures and different things. You try to push all that to the side a little bit and just stay focused on the moment.
All right. We'll go back to Robbie Falk, and then Theo, you can wrap us up.
Coach, Logan Tanner's been so good behind the plate all year. He's been up and down, I guess, hitting-wise, but right now it just seems like he's really locked in at the plate. I mean, he's squaring balls up. He had that big hit to start that rally. against Ole Miss. Did anything change with him at the plate at all, and how he was approaching things, or was it just simply just getting a big hit and it's starting to flow?
Well, he's working with Goat, a lot. They spend a lot of time hitting and talking and everything else. And he is a really, really smart baseball player and really gets it from the mental side. As good as we got. And there's always a work in progress with him. And he has, if you come and watch BP, he may be one of the more impressive guys in the league in BP, and he's trying to translate that into the game. A lot of it's pitch selection, a lot of it's timing, not so much mechanics. So I think he's starting to figure some things out, which is fun for him. And then, on the defensive side, I think it's going to be an interesting weekend because they like to run the bases too. So I think we're one of the better at holding the running game, and they're one of the better at stealing. And I think vice versa too. I think we're 1-2 and 1-2. So that side of the weekend could be a little interesting.
And we'll go to Theo and then actually wrap up with Steve.
A little bit lighter thing. When you go up to Vandy, you guys have to deal with a guy named Vandy Whistler. How familiar are you and your guys with him? And do you have to block that out when you guys are up there?
Is he still there, or did he lose his ticket because of COVID?
I'm
Is
not
he
sure.
there? Do you know?
I don't know. I've tried to look that up, but I can't tell.
So I was hoping he lost his ticket to COVID. So I can't even. It's hard to watch the game on TV. So I'm sure our kids are aware, because it's not only just at Vandy. It's he's a great fan. He goes to the tourney. He goes to the regionals. He's in Omaha. So you're it's just not when you go to Vandy. I've been dealing with it for a while because of all my run-ins of we won a super regional when I was at Louisville there in 2013, and we've played them so much over the years. I went to my first head coaching regional was Vandy in 2015 when I was in Indiana. So I've been around them a lot, being in that part of the country. So I guess you just got to block it out like anything else, but it's probably better that than listening to 15,000 Bulldog fans like we had this weekend. I think a little bit easier to play. It just can be a little annoying. So.
And we'll go to Steve to wrap us up today.
Chris, I see you wearing black today, and Mississippi State has not worn black the last 2 Sundays. It caused a lot of discussion. So what's the story with the Sunday Blacks?
The Sunday Blacks are, the kids kind of came to us a couple of weeks ago and just said, "Hey, Coach, can we wear?" I think we were going to Auburn. Can we wear our pinstripes? We haven't worn our pinstripes yet, and they had a hard time getting into the rotation. We love the Blacks, but the Blacks were kind of a team in the past, and we're a new team. We're trying to do our own things, and so that's kind of where that came from. I don't think the Blacks are gone, but I right now this team and the pinstripes have been pretty good to us the last couple Sundays, and they look pretty sharp. So, but that kind of came from the team. So I usually don't get too much into uniforms. I've said it before. I like the Blacks. They're slimming. For me, that's very, very good. But, it's a lot about the team and the kids. And if they feel comfortable wearing something and they're winning, then I usually go along with it. So, but that's kind of the story. It wasn't anything major. Just they wanted to switch it up a little bit.
Great.
We wanted to get the message boards going too. That really probably helped the message boards. So
Yeah, thanks for that, Chris.
no problem.
Thanks, everybody.